Hollywood has come a long way since Adam West's Batman was the standard bearer of superhero smackdown-ery. Now, the only thing holding good guys and bad guys back is the imagination of the people behind the camera. But no matter how many cities Superman demolishes, no matter how many moons Thanos tosses, one thing that remains fairly consistent is how these action sequences fit into the structure of their respective films, pushing the narrative along and looking damn good while they do it. As superhero movie madness continues here at IGN, we're going to break down how these action scenes, large and small, fit into the superhero stories these movies celebrate. Every superhero movie isn't created equal, so some movies may handle their spectacle a little differently. But when you're a studio pumping $100 million into a blockbuster, generally you're comforted by sticking to a tried and true formula. With that, let's talk about how superhero movies handle action scenes act by act. There's a lot of competition in the superhero scene, so starting things off with a bang in the first act is a great way for filmmakers to get the audience's attention and orient them as to what the heroes and villains are capable of at that point. First act action sequences also often set key plot points into motion, setting up not only the story but also some of the broader themes that the movie's going to tackle.
Think a better world than ours, Cal.
Tony Stark's escape from captivity with the Mark I Iron Man armor may end in pieces, but it results in Tony's return to civilization and exit from the arms race, putting him right in the way of mentor Obadiah Stane's takeover of Stark Industries. Aquaman's gladiator duel with Orm not only prevents him from becoming king of Atlantis before he's learned the humility he needs to succeed, but it also exposes his relative inexperience as an underwater fighter when compared to his enemies. X2 features a killer opening action beat that not only sets the entire story in motion, but serves as an excellent introduction to the sequel's most consequential new mutant, Nightcrawler. After the events of X-Men, mutants have become pariahs, and having a scary blue one that can teleport all over the place show up at the White House doesn't help their case. The mysterious Nightcrawler breaks away from a tour group and bamfs his way through the West Wing, taking down Secret Service agents left and right. From an information delivery standpoint, this sequence introduces us to Nightcrawler's teleportation abilities and how he incorporates them in a fight, as well as how well he's able to use that prehensile tail of his. Once Nightcrawler gets to the Oval Office, the only thing keeping him from knifing the president is a bullet to the shoulder. The assassination attempt kicks off the whole plot of the movie, which sees the government respond by sending Colonel William Stryker to raid Professor Xavier's academy and kidnap a bunch of mutants. The opening Nightcrawler sequence in X2 is the movie in microcosm, with the Secret Service standing in for the whole world as they face down a perceived foe they can neither match or understand. Of course, that xenophobia ends up being totally unfounded. Stryker was using his mutant son's mind control abilities to frame Nightcrawler and the rest of mutant kind for the president's murder. Nightcrawler's tear through the West Wing is a thrilling, economical first act action sequence that proves you don't need a ton of dialogue to set up the stakes of the story. So how about the second act? Our heroes are on their way, the villains' machinations working against them as they go. We know the mission, maybe we have a sense of what lessons or truths our protagonists need to learn. Three-act structure generally dictates that somewhere around the film's midpoint, maybe a little closer to the end of the second act, the hero needs to be humbled. Often it feels like they're at a huge disadvantage by the time the third act rolls around. Action sequences are often the vehicle by which this humble pie is served. Batman knows there's nothing that'll ground you faster than getting your back shattered by a super buff terrorist who wants to throw you in a hole to live out the rest of your days in misery. The question of just how much of himself Peter Parker will give to save New York from Doc Ock is answered when he sacrifices his body to stop a speeding train from going off the rails. Captain America realizes just how little he understands the powers he's been both serving and fighting against when he discovers his long-lost best friend Bucky Barnes has been brainwashed into being a Hydra assassin during the course of a brawl with the Winter Soldier. Of course, it isn't law that these second-act action beats are all about dragging the heroes down. Wonder Woman's No Man's Land sequence occurs at the film's midpoint and sees Diana coming into her own to shred the opposition forces in Belgium. But the tradition of the heroes losing a big second act fight is well observed in Guardians of the Galaxy. After teaming up to escape the kiln and going on the run, the Guardians find themselves on nowhere trying to fence the Power Stone. Their jailbreak may have been a rousing success, but it's the second act now. You've danced, you've gotten hammered, you had yourselves a great first half of the movie, Guardians. maybe not you, Quill, but now the cracks in the team's fragile alliance are starting to show, and at the exact wrong time. Kree warlord Ronan the Accuser arrives on Nowhere and reminds everyone what happens when the team doesn't work in tandem. Drax, Gamora, and Quill are nearly killed when Ronan makes off with the Power Stone, leaving the fledgling team battered and dispirited. Little did they know they had this to look forward to.
Someday, we'll put it together.
What are you doing?
Dance off, bro. Me and you.
And now we reach the third act, the big finale, the bread and butter of the superhero movie. We've seen the heroes and villains develop their powers, maybe lose them for a second, but after a movie's worth of personal development, the climactic third act battle scene sees that progress tested. After years of setup and setbacks, Avengers Endgame pays off Nick Fury's idea that a group of exceptional heroes, if assembled, could be counted on to save the world, heck, the universe. After denying that he's special, David Dunn embraces his abilities and saves a family from a madman in Unbreakable. After trashing Metropolis in a mid-air battle for the ages, the lonely Superman makes the difficult choice to kill the murderous Zod, the only other surviving Kryptonian at this point. Shazam sees Billy Batson finally give up on his search for the mother who abandoned him and accept his new family, celebrating this growth by kicking Dr. Sivana's ass with his newly superpowered foster siblings. Hell, that's broadly how both volumes of Guardians of the Galaxy end. Those are all excellent examples of climactic third act action sequences, resplendent in the mayhem and carnage we all hunger for. But while saving the world may be a worthy payoff, not every third act action beat has to level a city to make an impression. As Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse expertly demonstrates, action doesn't always mean final battle when paying off a superhero's emotional through line. Spider-Verse may be a roller coaster of spider people, alternate dimensions, and cool animation, but what it's really about is a 13-year-old's struggle to believe in himself. Working-class Brooklyn kid Miles Morales has just been accepted into the prestigious Visions Academy after winning an entrance lottery and passing an exam. Even though Miles is extremely bright, he's surrounded by peers he's afraid deserve to be there more. And once Miles gets spider powers and starts helping another universe's Peter Parker get back home, Miles' imposter syndrome takes a turn for the worse. He's having trouble getting into the swing of things, which for a budding Spider-Man is kind of a doozy. And if he wasn't insecure enough, the multiverse dumps a whole team's worth of seasoned Spider-Men, women, and pigs at his feet. Watching all these pros work makes it even harder for Miles not to focus on his failure to master his new abilities. But a superhero movie's final battle waits for no one, and Peter sidelines the rookie for his own safety.
When will I know I'm ready?
You won't. It's a leap of faith. That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
That piece of advice, plus a little heartfelt encouragement from his dad about his academics, gives Miles just the spark he needs. From the top of a skyscraper, Miles hears Peter Parker in his head, reminding him that sometimes we're not sure whether we're ready to take the next step in our lives, or to own our own power, whether that's in the classroom or on the battlefield. So with that, Miles takes a leap of faith. Watching Miles plummet at terminal velocity and web swing through New York with this kind of speed and grace feels like such a victory, because we know how hard Miles has worked to get to this point, how much he's struggled with the self-doubt that's been holding him back. It's the moment Miles realizes what everyone else, audience included, has known all along. He's full of potential and he's going to do great things. After that emotional payoff, the final battle in which he defeats the Kingpin, saves New York City, and sends his friends back to their dimension just feels like icing on the cake.
Not bad, kid.
Thanks for watching. For more superhero movie coverage, be sure to check out our other Super Movie Madness deep dives, including our video on how the villain can make a superhero movie great. For everything else, be sure to subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.